I'm Brittany Lewis, a breaking news reporter here at Forbes. Joining me now is Forbes politics reporter Sara Dorn. Sara, thanks for coming on today.
Hi, Brittany. Thank you for having me.
I want to discuss President Biden's new budget. It's $6.8 trillion. What can you tell us about it?
So that does sound like a huge number. The number that we typically hear in terms of the budget is what's referred to as discretionary spending. And this is the spending that is not set by any law, that lawmakers have the ability to increase or decrease according to agency priorities every year. And the discretionary spending this year comes in at 1.9 trillion. That compares to 1.6 trillion in the fiscal year 2023 budget proposal, which was not passed until December and expires at the end of the current fiscal year, at the end of September. And the total number for discretionary spending in that budget was 1.7 trillion. This budget, the top priorities the White House has said is reducing the federal deficit by $3 trillion over the next 10 years, largely through a number of tax increases on corporations and the wealthy, which I am sure that we will discuss farther in our conversation. And then in addition is stabilizing a key Medicare fund that is set to run out of money in 2028.
I can't wait to break this all down. As you said, the plan claims to reduce the federal deficit by $3 trillion over the next decade. Is this a number that Republicans are happy with?
So Republicans blasted the budget as soon as it came out as reckless and unserious. They are seeking to, one of the concessions that House Speaker Kevin McCarthy agreed to in his negotiations to win the Speaker's gavel with the coalition of far-right members who were contesting him, was to balance the budget, which means not to spend any more than the government brings in revenue within the next 10 years. Republicans are obviously by principle, are very unhappy with the tax increases, and they want to cut spending even farther.
Let's talk about those tax increases. President Biden's billionaires tax is also included in this plan. Can you tell us exactly what that is?
So this would establish a minimum 25% tax rate for the top 0.01% of earners. And that includes taxes on unrealized capital gains, which are essentially increases in the value of assets that have not been sold. And as of now, those value adds are untaxed. And the Biden administration claims that without taxes on unrealized capital gains, that these top earners are paying an average tax rate of 8%. So they are really hoping to boost the tax revenue collection and offset the deficit largely through this billionaire's tax.
You said that Republicans blasted this pretty immediately, and Republicans have control of the House, as we know. So is this budget plan going to pass?
It has 0% chance of passing as is. And I think that that's, true in every year, even when the parties, the House and the White House are under the same party control. As I said, Republicans have already blasted the plan as unserious and reckless, and they have yet to announce their formal spending proposal. But largely they are seeking even steeper cuts. How exactly they're going to do that remains yet to be seen.
You mentioned House Speaker Kevin McCarthy earlier in the conversation, and I would love to bring him back up. He has to walk a really fine line here. He has a small majority, and as we saw in that speaker fight, that was really ugly and it was historic. The far-right members of the GOP really carry a heavy weight here. So do the concessions he made back in January come into play now?
Yes, part of these concessions include capping spending at fiscal year 2022 levels. And as I said, balancing the budget within the next 10 years. What's more is those members showed just how far they are willing to go to push McCarthy to meet their demands and how much he needs them in order to pass anything. It took 15 rounds of voting for him to convince enough members to back him. And, he has another math problem at play in that the proposals that Republicans have floated, at least verbally thus far, have they're mathematically fraught, according to many budget analysts. Democrats have highlighted this, as I said, in pushing back against the Republican criticism of Biden's budget and really taunting McCarthy and saying, where is your budget? I don't see any formal proposal from you. The nonpartisan Committee for a Responsible Budget, for example, said that in order to balance the budget within 10 years without raising any taxes, as Republicans have said they want to do, it would require cuts to 25% of programs and, defense spending cuts. And Republicans have also said that cuts to Medicare and Social Security are off the table. So the probability of accomplishing that looks to be a bit impossible at this stage.